Middle of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Thank you for joining us in the Court of Public Opinion here in the garage. It's getting warmer, Pete.
Yes, it's lovely.
Spring is here. Don't forget Friday around the dining room table if you're kind enough to join us and maybe make a phone call or two about whatever it is that you're thinking about or you think maybe needs to be more prominent. Put it on the table, the dining room table. Something that caught my eye was a 40-year-old veteran Victorian police officer who has been suspended because of an alleged incident involving a Nazi salute. A Nazi salute. I don't know why these people are so obsessed with right-wing dictators when there are a whole lot of left-wing dictators who are far, far worse. But anyway, I find it hard to believe that a police officer would do that. But, I suppose it's sub judice, so I can't really talk about it. It'll be investigated, but in the meantime, to me, it just seems extraordinary. We are banning the salute and Nazi memorabilia. I mentioned to you yesterday that it was Charlie Chaplin's, the anniversary of the movie The Great Dictator, which was a send-up of Adolf Hitler. Would you allow that? Would you allow somebody to produce that thing, that play that was so successful on Broadway called The Producers, which was a send-up of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime of Germany in the 1930s? Would you be allowed to produce that? I don't know.
Well, just interesting. You couldn't fly a Nazi flag.
No.
But you can still fly Palestinian flags after what the atrocity they did.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's sort of selective, isn't it?
That's exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. The banning of things, I don't know whether the banning of things does anything except give them some sort of celebrity status or rarity. But, for example, if you're going to ban the Nazi memorabilia, you've got to ban the Japanese rising sun stuff. And from the Stalin era, all that stuff, and probably the worst of the worst, which is bits and pieces from Mao Zedong. The Mao jackets and things like that. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Quite honestly, Mao Zedong, Stalin, and Tojo in Japan made Adolf Hitler look like a Boy Scout when it comes to atrocities. Why don't we just ban all atrocious people? It's interesting. What seems to be a wave of anti-migrant migration is sweeping the world. It really is. It looks like people are saying enough is enough. Trump says that if he's elected, there will be mass deportation of illegals. And anyone who returns will be sent to jail for the rest of his life or her life without any chance of parole. Look, I don't know whether that would happen or not. But if Europe is any guide, this will be immensely popular. The once left-leaning Sweden, for example, Scandinavia, Sweden is deporting all illegals, as is Italy. Italy is the usual gateway for asylum seekers from North Africa. And Germany, the country once, not so long ago, the country who welcomed 1 million refugees under their new chancellor, a complete reversal of this policy, the old policy. Why is this happening, you ask? Good question. The previous policy just didn't work. It's that simple. These countries, these leaders, look at the trouble and the costs that the average citizen is having to cope with. Then they look at the cause of the problem, and if they want to stay in office, they get tough on migration. It's pretty much a complete reversal, but it shows you that they have some common sense, or, well, maybe more correctly, a simple desire to survive politically. The Middle East teeters on the brink. Nothing new about that. But I was interested to hear that the United Nations have several peacekeeping posts all around the border between Israel and Lebanon. And I thought, that's funny. Various nationalities, the Filipinos, Africans, all kinds of different people, are peacekeeping with these posts. They are peacekeeping establishments. Hang on. What the hell have they been doing while the Lebanese or the Hezbollah have been hurling hundreds of, if not thousands of missiles into Israel? That's some peace you've been keeping, fellas. These UN people are paid to keep the peace. It doesn't surprise me to hear that they were doing nothing. Nothing. The only reason we know they're there is that the Israeli army put a couple of rounds through a watchtower, which was, again I say, simply doing nothing. Peacekeeping. What a joke. Let's have the real story. And let's, for God's sake, do something about the United Nations. I got to thank Samantha Maiden of News Limited for this. She pointed out that the taxpayer is picking up a huge $25,000 a month salary for the Deputy Prime Minister's Chief of Staff to be sent on what they euphemistically call gardening leave. Gardening leave. This is where they don't sack you, they suspend you on full pay. It's a remarkable story. Deputy and sometimes acting Prime Minister, Minister for Defence, Richard Marles, has ordered his Chief of Staff, Joe Tanyuaski, to stand down from her job because she had the temerity to inform the minister that she was being bullied. Now, how a Chief of Staff, that is the person who runs the joint, the office, how could she possibly be bullied? I don't know. But apparently she was. And apparently it wasn't the minister who was doing the bullying. But he definitely looked at the story written by Samantha Maiden, who really has her ear to the ground. He definitely threw her, that is the secretary, not secretary, the Chief of Staff, under the bus. Instead of defending her or finding out what the problem was and who was causing it and dealing with it. Huh? That's what you do. This woman has been sent on indefinite leave at the taxpayer's expense. She's subsequently been told by the Prime Minister's office, and I quote, she will never return to her job as Chief of Staff. Now, the salary equates to $25,000 a month, $30,000 a year. This money I suppose the government would think it's nothing. But you see, you and I do. The woman said that she'd be happy to come back to work, but clearly Parliament is a very strange place. This former diplomat and head of staff, with, I'm assuming, a history of good conduct and high performance, has just been left on her $300,000 a year salary and told to go and look for another job. And you can keep your salary until you find another job. Doesn't matter how long. Maybe the opposition could stand up and ask, why? Why, Minister? Why do you want this woman removed? Who was the bully? And what is the point? The idea of paying a chief of staff in the first place, let's backtrack. The idea of paying a chief of staff $300,000 a year to begin with is ridiculous. Too many staff generally, too much bureaucracy. I don't know whether they are productive or they just are like-minded fellow travellers. What do they contribute? Could somebody from the Productivity Commission run a ruler over it? There should be some sort of productivity test, something to determine just how much somebody is worth based on his or her experience and what he or she contributes to the job. But the public service is not like that. But it should be. If ever I ran the joint, it would be. Which is your guarantee that I'll never run the joint. But I don't see the opposition would change a thing. Canberra's a bubble, and they do what they like, and we pick up the tab, which is pretty sad. Looks like the crooks are ripping off the disabled through the NDIS, but we've talked about that on this program many times before. And of course, along with ripping off the disabled, the NDIS are ripping off the taxpayer. Let me say also here, in a very similar way, the Aboriginals are also being ripped off and exploited by various so-called Indigenous agencies. I call it the Aboriginal industry. Far removed from the people they are supposed to be helping. We're not talking about successful Aboriginals, you know, lots of doctors and lawyers, teachers, journalists, musicians, tradespeople, carpenters, plumbers, builders, chippies, you know, the whole thing. You have to remember that over 60% of Aboriginal people are employed. Some 289,000 people, the gap is the problem, not the employed. 289,000 people are gainfully employed. We're talking about people in mostly isolated, remote, tribal, Aboriginal settlements. Hundreds and hundreds of disorganised clans, very simple people who, like the disabled, are being weaponised, politicised and exploited by Labor and the left. If this government wants to help the Aboriginal people, forget the Uluru Statement from the heart and getting the voice through some sort of back door in state parliament or bringing it back for another. Oh, for God's sake, help me. The Uluru Statement from the heart, treaties, the Makarrata. As Warren Mundine says, and he said it on my show on Friday morning, education is the key. That's where it must start. That's practical. That's not political. It's practical help. Get rid of the parasites, get rid of the Aboriginal industry. But could possibly, after, you remember ATSIC that had to be dismantled? I think it was Labor who dismantled it. It was just a rort. You just can't have these separate arrangements between black people and white people. It doesn't work. Let's be honest. We all accept this gap stuff. There is a gap between the Aboriginals and the whites. But a lot of it is choice. and people are entitled to make a choice. But we're only talking 1% of the 3% of the Aboriginal population. And these are people who choose, as I say, in very remote locations. We are told that the Aboriginal people lived happily and successfully for 60,000 years before the arrival of Europeans. Now, if they could do it then, why can't they do it now? And if people choose, for cultural or historic reasons, to live out the back or beyond, they can't expect the same facilities that one would find in a city. You know, schools and hospitals, infrastructure. It's that simple. But people are free to choose where they want to live. But just don't send us the bill. Now, I'll leave you in a second. I just wanted to mention to you that back when Adelaide was crowned, what did they call it? The most beautiful city in the world. And that wasn't some phony made-up thing. That was absolutely right. The most beautiful city in the world. I should have brought it up on Friday when Sandy McMenamin dropped in at the dining room table. The lady who, years ago, put us on the map with a song called Adelaide, You're a Lady. I've just talked to Peter before we roll tape for this show. So we're going to try and get that off because Sandy sent it to me. And I've got it, it's from YouTube, I think. We can get YouTube on there, can we?
We can try.
We can try, okay. Okay, I'd love you to hear it. A lot of people, it was a hit, it was a big hit.
Dawn breaks in Adelaide. The city rises, surrounded in green. Feel the early morning breezes, country air, city motion. Adelaide is home, a peaceful haven for the mind, for the artist you may find. Sometimes it's like a child looking out through rose-colored glasses. Sometimes it's a wise old soul. Adelaide is charm. Adelaide, you're a lady. Adelaide, you're a queen. Prettiest of all the cities I've ever seen. Sunrise in the valley, sunset in the bay. Adelaide, you're a lady, always stay that way. Goodbye sunshine, goodbye day. A million lights shine in Adelaide. That's the picture I'll remember. Hope you stay that way forever. That warm and friendly feeling, you'll always be home. Adelaide, you're a lady. Adelaide, you're a queen. Prettiest of all the cities I've ever seen. Sunrise in the valley, sunset in the bay. Adelaide, you're a lady, always stay that way. Adelaide, you're a lady. Adelaide, you're a queen. Prettiest of all the cities I've ever seen. Adelaide, you're a lady. Adelaide,
she's well known here. She does lots of cabaret, great entertainer. Anyway, she suggested on the Friday show that she brings in her keyboard and we can have live music. Now, I can't see why we can't do that. And Pete, I can't see why you can't bring your guitar in and do exactly the same thing.
I'd love to.
Why not? Why not? And one more thing quickly before I go. Speaking of Adelaide, for the first time, the Oddities and Curiosities Expo is coming to our city, to Adelaide. Don Dunstan would have been thrilled. He would have been off the planet. It's travelled across America and other countries, a truly international experience of all things weird. And before you ask, no, they have not asked me to appear. But I hope to have somebody on the Friday show, maybe this Friday, but probably not, more likely to be in a Friday to come. The show's going to be in town till the end of November. But it'll be something interesting, worthwhile. Don't forget the Rising Sun, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a wonderful spot to have a fantastic quiet drink after work, a romantic dinner, a celebration, a product launch. Doesn't matter. It's one of the great venues in our city, built in 1845, lots of atmosphere, fantastic wine cellar, great menu, great service. You'll love it. It's in Bridge Street, 60 Bridge Street at Kensington. It's just won the award for being the best pub in South Australia, the Rising Sun Inn in South Australia. And our other great sponsor are the fine people at Jim Elder Fine Art. This is a wonderful international gallery where, if you're looking to buy paintings, it's terrific, obviously. That on the front is an Albert Namatjira. I don't know what it's sold for, but his work sells for $40,000, $50,000 a year. A painting regularly. God knows how many of those get sold every year, because he was quite prolific. He made lots and lots of beautiful paintings. But if you've got a painting on the wall, you thought, well, it was left to me because it was a significant painting. It was a notable European or Australian painting, and you don't know what it's worth, and you'd like to know. All you have to do is to ring Jim Elder, and he will tell you absolutely, chapter and verse, what it's worth. And if you want to sell it, you can quite easily, because he has these auctions, 4, sometimes 5 a year, that are viewed and patronized all over the world. It is a huge market to which Jim Elder sells. You can call Jim on 8267 2868. 8267 2868. Jim Elder. Jim Elder. It's in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. It's well worth a visit. The gallery is beautiful. Fantastic gallery. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. It is the 16th. The 16th. Oh dear. Got to go to court tomorrow, Pete.
Yes. It'll be interesting.
This all happened a year ago or something, isn't it?
Yes.
October the 16th. Marie Antoinette, Queen of France, 1774 to 1792, who allegedly uttered the rather undiplomatic, awkward phrase of, "Let them eat cake." Beheaded at the age of just 37. The year was 1793. The Disney Brothers cartoon studios were founded in 1923. I don't know what to make of that. Judge Jadwiga, 1384 on this day, Jadwiga is crowned King of Poland despite being a woman. Barbara West, English survivor of the Titanic sinking, dies at 96. The year was 2007. Britain's Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, begin their first royal visit to Australia and New Zealand in 1918. Oscar Wilde, the Irish playwright and novelist, The Importance of Being Earnest. The Picture of Dorian Gray, born in Dublin, Ireland, 1845 on this day. Hotel in Boston becomes the first to have indoor plumbing. 1869. Wonder what the hell they did before that.
The outhouse.
What, you get a pot in your room? You got a pot?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, golly. The first hotel in Boston. Well, it was only in Boston, maybe not in the world. George C. Marshall, American general and U.S. Secretary of State, 47 to 49, who authored the Marshall Plan, Nobel Prize winner of 1953, dies at 78. The year was 1959. The first edition of C.S. Lewis' The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is released in London. Caroline's favourite book since the age of 7. The year was 1950. John Harwood patents the self-winding watch on this day in Switzerland in 1923. Noah Webster, the American lexicographer, Webster's Dictionary, born America, 1758 on this day. Deborah Kerr, British actress, From Here to Eternity. Wow, yes. The King and I, An Affair to Remember. And also one of my favourite movies, Tea and Sympathy. I spoke to Deborah Kerr. She was a wonderful guest. She dies of the effects of Parkinson's disease at 86 on this day in 2007. Charlotte Bronte's book, Jane Eyre, is published in 1847. Angela Lansbury, the Irish-British-American Golden Globe multi-Tony award-winning stage screen actress, Gaslight, Manchurian Candidate, Mame, Murder, She Wrote, Beauty and the Beast, born in London, died 2022, but born this day in 1925. There's a whole lot of Nazi stuff here, which I'll just bowl over. Gilligan's Island, TV pilot, filmed in 1963, is first shown on CBS television. The year was... No, I think it was... Oh, I see what they did. They didn't show the series. This was 1992. They showed the pilot on TBS television. Must be one of those funny sort of networks in America. Anyway, Gilligan's Island wasn't a bad show at all. Thank you so much for being with us. I look forward to your company on Friday. Thank you very much for your support and all your comments. Peter Clayton and I will return. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself, and thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion.